treacherous cliff rescues in Southern California have Del Mar lifeguards going over the edge.
No matter how well practiced you are, things can happen.
Then, guards from San Diego brace for impact as large waves make landfall.
We had a set roll through several minutes ago that was high enough to break the top railing, and somebody got knocked down, and so just to keep people from getting injured, we got to take them off the pier.
Attention folks, we are closing the pier due to large surf.
It's certainly large, and you got to be at the top of your game, but you know, when it gets bigger, it gets in the 20-foot range, then it really becomes even more dangerous.
But it's only a matter of time before the surf claims its first victim.
And I got pushed down to the bottom, I would say 30 feet down. I just remember I needed to get to the surface as I was out of air.
And it's a race to get the stranded surfer to the hospital.
Copy that, let's move away. You're drowning into this.
At nearly 65 million square miles, the Pacific Ocean is the largest body of water on the planet. It is also the breeding ground for some of the Earth's most dynamic weather. And the lifeguards know that weather from the middle of the ocean can produce the largest waves on the coast of Southern California.
It's certainly large, and you got to be at the top of your game, but you know, when it gets bigger, it gets in the 20-foot range, then it really becomes even more dangerous.
The waves hitting San Diego today are the result of a storm off the coast of Japan that sent a powerful swell on a collision course with Southern California.
There was a big storm that came off of Japan, drove across the Central Pacific. It was approximately a 12-foot swell at 17-second intervals, meaning there's 17 seconds between the peaks of the waves, and the wider that period is, the deeper the waves reach, the more powerful, faster ground speed. So this is a fast break with a lot of power. The waves come in sets, and sometimes the sets are 30 minutes apart. So if somebody were to walk out on the tip of a rocky point during a 20 minutes worth of lull and standing there watching, and all of a sudden a rogue set comes in, you could be washed quickly into the water and be in trouble in a hurry. So in big surf, you got to keep your wits about you, got to keep breath control, and when the waves come, you duck underneath them, and then you get the heck out of Dodge.
This storm swell is producing waves so powerful that the guards are forced to close several of San Diego's piers.
We had a set roll through several minutes ago that was high enough to break the top railing, and somebody got knocked down, and so just to keep people from getting injured, we got to take them off the pier.
Attention folks, we are closing the pier due to large surf. If you could all head east, please.
The weather is a huge part of our job. The weather is what drives the surf, and that's what we're dealing with. It's an integral part of the ocean. The storms we get, the wind we get, it all changes the ocean that we're dealing with. I still remember when I was 13, it was the first huge El Nino storm, and my dad took us out of school and he said, we're gonna go look at the surf. And we came down to this beach, and half of the pier had collapsed, and the waves were 20 to 30 feet. I mean, it was a pretty incredible time. And I think that just really inspired me to be in the ocean and be challenged by it.
Some of the largest surf in San Diego is being produced in a remote and rocky area just north of Pacific Beach, which is exactly where the lifeguards received their first call of the day.
Dispatch to North PB 21 Sam for a surfer that's injured.
The 911 call came in, and the 911 caller was reporting that there was an injured surfer, unconscious. He was pulled out of the water, and that lifeguards were needed.
On patrol in the Pacific Beach area when the call comes in is Sergeant Ben Lewis.
21 Sam, sounds like the surfer's on the rocks, possible near drowning.
At that point, I immediately called for backup, and I knew we were going to need additional personnel way out there on the rocks. It's difficult to access, and we can't drive out there with the truck, so it's a matter of getting out there on foot.
Fire, this is lifeguards requesting medics at the foot of Sea Ridge for injured surfer. Copy that, 21 Sam on scene.
Lifeguards Lewis and Darling are the first responders.
I got on scene just as my sergeant did in his vehicle and grabbed the med pack and just started heading out towards the victim.
Just moments earlier, two brave bystanders entered the thunderous surf and pulled the injured 57-year-old man out of the water.
We both saw a guy, in a little trouble out there, He didn't, he was hurting, it looked like, trying to swim in, like no power to it. But then right when he got to the reef, sort of just clanged onto it and didn't move for a while. So me and Jim went out there and helped him out.
We were able to grab him under each arm. The surf was still, way overhead.
Yeah, still
completely went over us. But we were helping him out, and we dragged him up into shallower water, where we were able to lay him on his side and get him to cough up a lot of water.
This guy had a hard time making it in without his board, and by the time he made it into the rocks at PB Point, he was exhausted, had spent some time underwater, and may have swallowed some or even inhaled some water.
If the injured surfer inhaled any amount of salt water into his lungs, he could be suffering from secondary drowning.
When that salt water gets into your lungs, the body tries to compensate for that, and fluid rushes in to basically desalinate the lungs, so make it less salty. And so your lungs fill up with fluid, and that's where we get our air from, and so basically you drown from inside.
The man's vital signs are dropping, so the lifeguards can't risk moving him, but they have to figure out something quickly. The tide is rising, and this rocky area will be underwater within 20 minutes. 80 miles up the coast in Huntington Beach, lifeguards are responding to an emergency call of their own. But there's a problem. They don't know what's wrong.
Right now, we are responding to Tower 17. We're going to be the backup unit. The tower guard's responding behind his tower to unknown trouble.
I think your stress level goes up a little bit when you're responding to something that you don't know the details about. But you try and squash those feelings as quick as possible because you know that you're the person that they're relying on for help.
You hear everybody?
When we have an individual who is young, who is lethargic, just not acting normally for what a 10 or 12-year-old should be acting like, that's a huge red flag for us.
Why don't you go ahead and board him? I'm going to go get the medics.
Now it's our job to figure out what that problem is and get the proper treatment as soon as possible.
Stay with us, bud. Keep your eyes open.
Stay awake.
Stay awake. Come on, buddy. Take some nice, slow, deep breaths.
Keep breathing. Come on.
What's the last thing you ate?
Rice.
Rice. Did you feel okay after you ate?
Yeah.
Okay. Any tingling in your toes? Anything like that? Yeah, rule out cervical. Can you see me?
I can see your face, and I can see your circle.
Okay. Is your vision blurry? A little bit blurry? Okay. Okay. Relax there, pal. Just take some nice, slow, deep breaths, okay?
Well, right now they're just assessing him to find out what happened to the victim. I just got information from the sister that he fell in the shower a day prior and blacked out.
Could have been a serious injury that is now just presenting itself a day later. Anything that happens in the events leading up to what happens on the beach for us today, that is significant.
Keep breathing. Come on, come on. Keep breathing. Take deep breaths. Come on.
When the paramedics arrived on scene, I gave them a quick update on victim status so that they can move forward with care and get that person to the hospital as soon as possible.
Well, buddy, we better take you to the doctor, get you checked out today, okay?
After examining the boy, the medics confirmed that he needs further medical attention. But with his location on the sand, the lifeguards must quickly transport him to the ambulance in the parking lot.
For us, the most significant calls are calls including children. You try and distance yourself from that and just rely on making sure the person gets the proper treatment, then you know you're doing the right job.
In San Diego, powerful waves formed by a storm halfway around the world are punishing the coastline. And lifeguards have responded to a 911 call of a surfer who nearly drowned in the turbulent waters. Given the injured surfer's location on a remote outcropping of rocks, the rescuers now face the difficult task of transporting him to the hospital before it's too late.
21 Sam, would the helicopter be an alternative for transport?
Copy that. Let's do hoist. This is a near drowning incident, and he's NO time. I'll follow it. 1.
Copy that, and Copter 2 is responding.
8 miles inland, San Diego Fire Copter 2 embarks for the coast. while the rescue workers on scene continue their attempt to stabilize the victim.
Do you have a lifeguard that you can deploy to start clearing the area for the helicopter?
Grab your board, help! Get out of here!
21 Sam, I see we're ready for the medic insertion.
Just minutes after being dispatched, Copter 2 arrives on scene, ready to hoist down rescue medic Scott Pearson.
We came doors open, and I was hoisted down on the wire with the equipment that I would need to extricate this patient.
Due to the violent downwash of the rotor blades, Copter 2 performs an advanced maneuver for the hoist insertion.
What we do is a European style of hoisting, where we will maintain forward flight and we will be in a forward motion and lowering down the rescuer at the same time. So by the time we get directly over the victim, we're no more than 10 feet off the ground, and you're just on the ground in just a matter of seconds.
Now on the ground, paramedic Pearson makes his way across the slippery, moss-covered rocks to the victim. And after a medical download from the team on the ground, he understands their fear for the surfer.
One of the things that we're really concerned about in cases like this is secondary drowning. Because of the salt content of our ocean, it doesn't take much water to disturb the balance and flow of fluids across the membranes in the lungs. And that's what will cause the secondary drowning.
With the potential for secondary drowning, the team must get the man into the helicopter and to the hospital immediately. The first step is placing the victim in a specialized bag.
Loaded him up into what we call a Bauman bag, which is kind of an encapsulating sleeping bag that's got a harness built right into it that hooks into the hoist wire.
With the man now packaged in the bag, paramedic Pearson signals to Copter 2 that he is ready for extraction. And as Copter 2 begins its approach, the rescuers leave the area to avoid its hazardous downwash. With the winds picking up, Copter 2 must maintain a steady course as it lowers the hoist cable down to the victim. Successfully grabbing the cable, paramedic Pearson quickly makes the connection and Copter 2 departs for a local hospital. This precision extraction is the end result of a combined effort by rescue workers and a couple of brave locals.
All right, you guys, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hope he does well.
Oh yeah, me too. We, as lifeguards, really appreciate citizen help. They were the beginning of saving this man's life, and then we just kind of came in and finished up.
The guy was in trouble. He was in serious trouble at water's edge there, and they ran down and helped him out. It's not the first time local surfers in the community have helped people in the water and helped us help people, and they were an integral and key part of that rescue.
Take care. Be safe out in the water.
These are the days we train for. I grew up on this beach, and for me to make a difference here is, I mean, just makes me feel incredible. So I'm very lucky to have this job and have that opportunity.
In Del Mar, California, the ocean is not the only source of potential danger. Jagged cliffs looming over the ocean pose a threat to beachgoers on foot and in the air. These cliffs are a popular but treacherous spot, which is why Del Mar lifeguard Mark Rathson is in charge of cliff training.
We're on our way up to our North Beach bluffs where we do a lot of our cliff rescue training. I think North Beach is treacherous for the everyday walker or hiker because it is so inviting to go to the top and look over the edge. And once you go over the edge, it is sandstone, so you pretty much can't make it back up.
What makes these cliffs so dangerous is the weather. Del Mar's bluffs erode to unstable conditions during the heavy rains of winter, creating loose rocks and footholds in the summer.
Everybody grab a radio. What started me with lifeguarding in the early years was my love of the ocean. I enjoyed surfing and playing water polo, and I did junior guards, and junior guards really hooked me on it. I was always comfortable in the water, which makes it a lot easier to become a lifeguard. It is a natural progression to want to learn more and become an instructor and teach the things you've learned to the rookies that are coming up and the younger guards. These cliff rescues can be very dangerous. You're 100 feet over the surf and things can happen. So that's why we train on a regular basis so they don't.
Today's training session is essential as cliff rescues in Southern California come in all shapes and sizes. From extracting injured cliff divers at San Diego's famous Sunset Cliffs.
Got him. Slow. The glider down Scissors Challenge requesting a cliff response.
To airlifting those in dire need of medical care. And saving hikers desperately stranded hundreds of feet above Black's Beach. The guards risk life and limb to rescue those in peril. And without the proper training today, they won't be ready for the real thing tomorrow. This afternoon, Mark oversees the training exercise that simulates a stranded hiker rescue.
The responder is going to be you, Steve. You're going to go down on the main line.
Lifeguard Steve Glass will be the rescuer in the operation, while Kaylee Emerson will belay him from above.
As the rescuer on his way to the victim, I'm first of all thinking about my own safety, and there's always danger. No matter how many times you do it, no matter how well practiced you are, it's always nerve-wracking when you take your first step over the edge.
As Steve makes his move, he has to clearly relay his progress to Kaylee, or it could spell disaster.
Communication is very important in the cliff rescue. You don't know if it's going to be a real windy day. You don't know if you're going to be working underneath a helicopter or at night. Sometimes you can't communicate via radio, and it's hand signals. So it's important to be able to train and be proficient at it at all times.
Kaylee!
With Steve in position, it's imperative that all the lifeguards work together. The team up top must manage the lines. Otherwise, Terry and Steve won't be able to navigate the face of the cliff.
There's a lot to make high-angle rescue dangerous. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of people coordinating to do some pretty technical things, and whenever that happens, there's the capacity for missteps and errors.
As the sandstone crumbles and falls, it's a concerted effort to get the lifeguards on solid ground.
As an instructor, it is nice to see what you've taught pay off. When the light switch comes on, it's when it's really pretty fun.
Topside, we're going to work. Head back to the beach.
After a powerful storm in the Pacific Ocean, California received some of the biggest surf of the year. And when the storm's swell made landfall in San Diego, it produced extremely large and hazardous waves. The surf community came out in large numbers to brave the elements. But the big waves brought big danger. Perhaps no one experienced the raw power of those waves more so than surfer Robert Brooks.
There was a set coming in, and I was trying to get further outside than where I was sitting. I was looking up at like a 2-story sized building of a wave. So I tried to go through it, and I just remember going back into the falls and my board being ripped from me, and I got pushed down to the bottom, I would say 30 feet down. I just remember I need to get to the surface, and I was just like, how high is it gonna be before I reach the surface, because I was out of air. A few waves pushed me into shore, and I was just at the mercy of the sea, and I just knew my day has come. That's when 2 of the guardian angels I call Southern California Lifeguards said, we're gonna help you. I don't remember too much. I just found myself inside a helicopter, and I don't remember how I got there. Fortunately, those lifeguards were there. Otherwise, you know, I could have been getting my last breath on that rock.
Now fully recovered, Robert returns to the beach.
Hey.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you.
Looking good.
I appreciate being rescued.
It's not often we get to see somebody after we rescue them, especially something like that, so
Well, I feel you saved my life, so it's the least I can do is to come and shake your hand and thank you.
Yeah, let me get you your board.
Right.
Believe it or not, your board, even though it blew up on the rocks, we had the guys on the helicopter help us spot it on the rocks. It was because we couldn't find it from down where we were, but it's no dings, no damage at all.
I thought it'd be crunching the rocks for sure.
That thing. Yeah, man.
Amazing.
Believe it or not, no damage.
Another miracle.
Take care, man.
All right,
you gonna get in the water again soon?
It'll be a while, but I'll get back out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, come say hi.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you, lifeguards. You do work that, I mean, you save people's lives. What can I say?